See, there are two basic problems when we talk about India and sanitation. The first is the size, the length and breadth of the country, and most of the people living in the rural areas are not has never seen a sanitation system. They have been using the fields for time immemorial. Their forefathers have been doing it, they are doing it, and their children would continue to do it. To go to a sanitation system in such a small pockets and make a sewerage system, like if you see in a urban situation, we spend about 10 liters of water per use of toilet by way of flushing and ablution and other things. That kind of water is just not available to the country. So that prohibits the making of sewerage system, one. The second point is that the amount of money it requires is huge. I mean, mind-boggling estimates. We cannot think of doing it in next 50 years. The third point is that unfortunately, our technologies as far as sewerage systems are concerned has been primitive so far. We have made sewerage systems in towns which are metro towns like Lucknow, Kanpur, Patna, and we have found that they just don't work. What we have to do, if this has got to be done, is on-spot sanitation. By on-spot sanitation, I mean you got to treat the sewage at the point where it is generated. So 80s we made the first trial, and UNICEF as the godfather came and gave us the leach-pit system. What they did not realize that India is again a very vast country. It has very various kind of soils, various kinds of people, various kinds of terra firma. We just cannot apply one single yardstick for every horse, and that is where we fail. If my estimates are correct, if my numbers are correct, I think we made more than 2 lakh, 2.5 lakh toilets using leach pits in 80s, and by next census we realized that we had lost 90% of them. I mean, they were just not existing. The reason can be two. Either they were made and not used because they were done shoddily, they were not making the person happy using it, or for some other reason people prefer to go outside, including women and girls. But leach pit did not succeed in India, that can be said with emphasis. I mean, it is good that they worked in Siachen for the special needs of the Jawans there, where nobody else would think of working, and they got a solution for it. They used that inoculum in Siachen at sub-zero temperatures like -30, -40, and it worked. Now, spreading the same bacteria which had been living and thriving at sub-zero temperatures all across the country, I don't feel comfortable. Moreover, the total experience that we have with that living organism, which we call inoculum, is just about 6 to 7, 8, maximum 8 years, and that too half of it is in the cold climates, which we do not want to consider as a civilian population, because whatever works for Jawans need not necessarily work for the civilian people. So it can survive for a week, 10 days, but it is a living organism that we have to keep in mind. It has got to be fed. We just cannot starve it. That is the basic point that we have to keep in mind. How and how much is required, I would be of the opinion in general that about 25% of the people normally who use it should be using it even in the lean period. And I do not want to talk about bio-latrine because it is Indian, because it was designed by an Indian engineer in Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, because it is used in Indian railways, not because all those Indian words, but because it works in Indian condition all over India, in all temperature zones, in all weather conditions, it works. Because I happen to have the first-hand experience with these latrines for I would say 24 years. It's a pretty long time, and not with 1, 2, 10, 20, 100 biolatrines, but 500 biolatrines into a railway colony. That's a government railway colony, and you know how finicky the government servants are when they are living in a government colony. But they just want everything spick and span. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if there is anything wrong with biolatrines, there would have been a halla gulla long before this time. So it works. Each one was using her septic tank as a platform, and she was doing her household chores. Like one was vegetable cutting, the other one was trying to do something else. Somebody was playing, the children were playing on the platform. I mean, that was something good for me to watch, because this proved 2 points. The first, that there is no foul smell, and second, there are no flies, no mosquitoes, no nuisance, and they just have a good time. So I just called it a septic lounge kind of a place, because I mean, they have now, trees have grown, and there are good shade, and septic tanks are the sitting spaces for them. The colony was huge, and we had about 350 odd biolatrines at Tundla. But apart from that, all other stations from Tundla to Ghaziabad had only few pieces. And doing such small scattered work, nobody wants to do it. It's a thankless job. So we evolved a pre-fabrication system, and because it had to be done somewhere else, not the spot, so we designed a lightweight prefabrication system. And when the lightweight word came in, naturally ferro-cement entered into the picture. By that time I had about 15 years experience with ferro-cement, roofing and walling and housing. So we just took the jump and we did the job, and it has come out wonderful. I mean, I feel proud of having been associated myself with that job. The good point about Tilothu is that they are trying to do the work with ladies. That is fantastic. Here they are using themselves as skilled workers, and fantastically nice, because the ladies, they have the capacity and patience to sit and work, which men do not have. So I have been asking Mr. Sinha and Shobna, of course, to replicate this experience and bring in more and more lady workers into this field. Ferro-cement is the future. If we got to live, we got to change our habits to ferro-cement, because it has, not only we make toilets, we can make anything out of ferro-cement, not only houses, boats, ships, submarines, anything, you name it and we can make it. Bridges, roads, anything can be done in ferro-cement, not only in a lesser cost, but utilizing lesser resources, like less cement, less steel, less manpower, and better structural strength. 44 toilets went to Andhra Pradesh, about 1,360 kilometers away, and 3 people went from here to install them. Naturally, 3 people cannot do it, so they must have hired local people. And those 44 toilets were installed, again I am told, in 3 days. And secondly, if the ferro-cement made here in this primitive setup can travel that distance without any breakage, damage, and what more we want? The one is bio-latrine, that is the answer to my way of thinking. Second point is ferro-cement. Ferro-cement comes in because of speed. Nothing else can give you that speed. If you make bio-latrine in brick, you can do it, and railway did it for a long time, and they were all successful. But it needs a mason at the site, and you cannot complete a bio-latrine in more than 4 days, 5 days time, and a lot of supervision, and you can understand. So ferro-cement comes in because of speed, quality, because the consistency of quality which you can get in a factory produced component, you can never get it on site. So that way, ferro-cement plus bio-latrine is the only solution to my way of thinking